Web apps is probably the most common application type nowadays, second maybe only to Web API. Web apps, also known as websites, are basically the way the internet worked since its inception. With web apps there is a web server, usually more than one, and a web browser. Those two communicate with each other via HTTP protocol, although other protocols can also be used. The browser sends an HTTP request for the server asking for a resource. The resource in this case is an HTML page, which gets returned to the browser, which in turn renders it for the end user. Almost always the HTML page will use JavaScript code for implementing logic in the browser and CSS files for the visual design of the page. Web apps are best for systems that require user interface for end user, user-initiated actions, meaning the user is the one making the request to do something, such as viewing order data, saving username, and so on. Large scale, with a large number of users and a lot of data. Short, focused action, as opposed to long-running processes. For example, web apps are not a good fit for a process that should crunch billions of numbers and produce business intelligence. For this, there are other kinds of applications. As we discussed earlier, web apps work in a request-response model, which is perhaps the most important aspect of them. As a rule of thumb, if the system you are working on can be described as a request-response application, then you are probably looking at a web app.